For decades, Orca displays fascinated audiences with synchronized leaps, booming breaches, and the apparently mystical relationship between killer whales and trainers. Families filled up marine parks to see these giant creatures, attracted by the orca's beauty, brains, and theatricality. But behind the veil of cheers and wonder, a more sinister truth bubbled along, where the line between trust and peril was inches thick. Even with their refined procedures, orcas are still apex predators, and history has proved time and again that even seasoned trainers are at risk of disaster. This is the account of one such incident, the harrowing last show of trainer Marina Lysaro. Marina had always dreamed of swimming with the giants when she was young. The sea beckoned her, and its greatest denizens, the orcas, became her passion and, later on, her life's work. She spent years with tough training, developing a bond with these massive animals that few could comprehend. Among them, there was one, Nyla. In 10 years, Marina developed an incredible relationship with Nyla, 19 feet in length, more than 8,000 pounds, and the star of Ocean World Orlando's spectacles. Nyla had been taken from the wild seas off Iceland in 1992, and her powerful presence in the tank since then had mesmerized scores of onlookers. But to Marina, she was much more than a headliner, she was a trusted friend. Their relationship was portrayed as being almost magical. Colleagues and observers talked of a near telepathic partnership. Marina and Nyla were something special, one fellow trainer remembered. There was magic between them. You could witness the trust when they swam together. For a decade, their routines were the stuff of legend, sophisticated tricks, yes, but works of art. Marina's daring style was famous for living hand in flipper with the orcas, developing emotional ties most wouldn't dream of pursuing. Her peaceful nature could bring Nyla to full attention with a mere stare. But behind the grace of their performance, faint warning signs were starting to show. Nyla had a background, tactile episodes of aggression, slapping tails, disregarded signals, jaw-popping, and surprise lunges that suggested stress or frustration. Trainers wrote these behaviors down with unease, but they tended to be downplayed. It's natural for captive orcas, they would say. But Marina never viewed Nyla as more than a showpiece. She was a friend. And to the public, Nyla was an upscale icon of the park, a cause good enough for Marina and Ocean World to overlook the mounting risks. Nyla's wild beginnings were all but forgotten by the time she amazed Florida audiences. The stress of being ripped from Iceland's seas and pressed into a life of captivity and performance seldom entered the public dialogue. Her elegance and loveliness hid the truth, inside swayed a beast never intended to be confined. The people around the animals saw the behavioral warning signs growing more common, overlooked signals, restlessness, and growing unpredictability. Nevertheless, the warning signs were dismissed. There were signs, a retired trainer confessed. But nobody wanted to discuss them. On a sweltering June afternoon, the park was filled with the smell of saltwater, laughter, and excitement. It was the ideal day for the Dances with Giants show, one of the most popular shows at Ocean World. The audience streamed in by the hundreds, ready to watch Marina and Nyla perform once again. Marina, as usual, was composed and alert backstage, rehearsing a special routine she and Nyla had been working on for weeks. It was a stunt in which Nyla lifted Marina out of the water with her rostrum in a stunningly choreographed maneuver that took consummate timing and skill. But something was not quite right that day. Even before the show opened, there was an air of tension. Nyla was taking a long time to react to Marina's usual cues. And when she did finally move towards her, it was hesitantly. Marina, on the ball and confident, attributed it to stubbornness, a small glitch in their veteran collaboration. But as the performance commenced and the stunt loomed near, Nyla's actions became more bizarre. When Marina cued her to stand up, Nyla deviated from their pattern for the first time. Concern flashed in Marina's eyes, but she continued, smiling and splashing the crowd in a bid to keep up the illusion. Then it all changed. In an instant, Nyla dipped forward and wrapped her hands around Marina's arm with monumental force. The crowd, thinking at first it was staged, kept on cheering. But Marina's rigid face told otherwise. She was frozen in fear and agony, struggling to get away as Nyla rolled and pulled her under. The pool was chaos. Staff members fought to get in the way, but the Orca ignored them. Marina broke surface once, her white face strained with terror, before she was yanked beneath once more. Shouts filled the stands as the crowd panicked. Nets were unfurled, alarms blared, but Nyla was still in control, a predator over her victim. Marina bobbed up again, shuddering and struggling for air, looking right into Nyla's eyes. The trust that had characterized their relationship had totally dissolved. A few seconds later, Marina went under for the last time. Her dead body was recovered from the water at 2:55 p.m. She was limp, water running from her wet hair and uniform, as paramedics came in to try to resuscitate her. But it was in vain. She had drowned, with blunt force trauma from the assault. Her grasp and repeated immersions by the Orca had choked her. This was followed by a firestorm. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, and animal welfare agencies initiated speedy investigations. The public cried out, "Why did Nyla attack Marina? What caused this dreadful moment?" Soon, disturbing facts came to light. Nyla's behavioral problems had been noted and recorded long before, episodes of disobedience, aggression, and frustration, but time and again these were ignored or covered up to save face for the park. Even some trainers privately expressed concern over Nyla's increasing unpredictability, but were brushed aside. Marina's death, many reasoned, was unavoidable. The hints had been there all along. In the aftermath of the disaster, Ocean World hosted a memorial to remember Marina's life and service. Trainers, loved ones, and visitors congregated in dismay and grief. But within that silence, a greater question arose: should orcas be captive at all? Outrage from the public ran high. Marina had dedicated her life to demonstrating these animals' brilliance and beauty. But the same place where she had found her reason was also where she died. Her passing reignited demands for the end of orca captivity, with increasing calls for reform. Wild animals, it was argued, were never intended to be kept in captivity, least of all those born to range across enormous oceans. As Marina's life ended in tragedy, the history of orca captivity was only just beginning. As the weeks went by, the media spotlight dissipated, but the questions lingered. No one could forget Nyla, the orca that had danced alongside Marina, swimming all by herself in a tank much too small for her giant spirit. It was a ghostly reminder of an all-too-preventable tragedy. Unfortunately, Marina and Nyla's tale is not an exception. Consider the notorious Orca tilicum, for instance, a male taken from off Iceland in 1983 and responsible for 3 human fatalities. In 1991, trainer Kelty Byrne drowned when dragged under by tilicum and 2 other orcas. In 1999, a man who had slipped into the tank after hours was discovered draped over tilicum's back, dead. These aren't random tragedies. They are part of a disturbing pattern, one that forces us to question the ethics of using intelligent, powerful creatures as entertainment.